Good afternoon, everybody. I think it's time to get started here. Did everyone pick up a package on the way in? Everybody has an agenda and package. And a voting card. Everybody who paid to be here or paid their membership for the year should have a voting card if they don't have one. Who has the voting cards to hand out? Dan does. Oh, you'd like cards? Thank you, Joanna. Could you grab us the cards from outside? Okay, my name is Pat Johnstone. Andrew asked me to facilitate this event this afternoon. We're here to do some necessary business, but we're also here to celebrate the success of the farmers market here in New West and to look ahead to next year at the farmers market. We're also going to check in with a couple of filmmakers who we probably haven't followed up on since they presented to us a couple of years ago at a farmers market AGM. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We need to first of all thank the River Market and the Network Hub for hosting us here today, and to New West Community Television for streaming us live on TV. I know that there's a lot of people right now sitting at home with screens in front of them wondering what they're going to watch. So I think it's good that we gave them this opportunity to see what we're doing. Actually, I wouldn't mind if Stacy can come up here and just talk about New West Community TV for a second.
Thank you, guys. The RCFM has graciously allowed us to just do a little bit of an introduction to New West TV and what we're up to and why we are around. So how many people here understand the importance of a local diet? Hands, show of hands. Anybody, like to eat local food? Okay, it looks like I've got an audience of local food eaters. Now, have you ever thought about what it means to our minds when our media diet is not local? This is something that we're thinking a lot about at newwest.tv, and it's part of our goal in creating community television that is by New Westminster citizens for New Westminster citizens. Now, over the last couple of years, we've been doing live streaming. We've been organizing ourselves as an organization, but we have a goal underneath all of this work, and that is to create a fully funded local television station in New Westminster. Now, the funding is already there. About 87% of New Westminster residents have cable, and 2% of their cable bill goes to fund local community access television. And local is defined by CRTC as about New Westminster and filmed in New Westminster, and community access means by community residents, so that's created by, produced by local residents. Now, if any of you have watched our local community television station, you may notice that there really isn't a lot of that kind of programming on that channel. But the funding is still coming through every year. Now, CRTC has an alternate to the licensor running the community television station, and that is for a nonprofit organization like New West TV to come in and run that as a community access television station. So we're preparing our arguments to go to CRTC and say, okay, this isn't happening in our community. We are making it happen in our community, and we'd like to do that officially. And that would mean, if we were successful, which we, stranger things have actually happened. I've, been in the nonprofit business running community volunteer connections for a while, and I can tell you, stranger things have happened. We would have a fully funded local television station in New Westminster, run by New Westminster citizens, and bringing forward the stories of New Westminster for New Westminster citizens, and it would be very cool. Now, one of the things that we have been thinking about is, what does that mean? We are so used to commercially driven television. What does local community television actually mean? And so that's where we want to start a community conversation about what would you do if you had access? What passions, what interests, what stories would you want to be involved yourself in telling and putting on the air as a New Westminster person for New Westminster people. We have this as an example of the kind of programming and live streaming that we can do, but the possibilities are as endless as our imaginations. And so that's a community conversation we want to get started. And I want to put that idea in your minds because you are part of the people who are going to come forward, work with us, and create those kinds of opportunities on television locally and through our local website as well. So that's what we're up to, and I'm going to go back to live streaming the fabulous Royal City Farmers Market AGM. And, we invite you to ask us questions. The group of us are back there, Deepak and Susan and Rodolfo and Johanna and myself, so come and ask us questions at any time. And in the meantime, enjoy our programming.
So, thanks, Stacey. I also want to thank Puxtawani Phil, because he today announced that we're going to have another 6 weeks of winter. That doesn't sound good, except that you got to remember, we got like 5 more winter markets to get through, so we need more winter, okay? So winter's good. As I said earlier, we're here to support the RCFM, and we all have our own reasons for supporting them. Some of us just like buying fresher food. Some of us like supporting local entrepreneurs. Some of us just like the idea of sustainability of our food source. I think that right now there's so much conversation about the ALR erosion and about this 5-year-long drought in the California Valley. I think that a lot of these things point back at food security, about being concerned about where our food is coming from and how we're going to secure our food in the future. So on a topic of food security, I want to introduce Bettina Ali from the New Westminster Food Action Committee. They're talking about food security on the local level, and Bettina Ali will be able to tell you what initiative they're coming up.
Can everybody see okay? Okay. So, first of all, I have to thank all the farmers market folks for allowing us to come and talk about this. This is part of what we're referring to as a live living launch, I think is what the term we're using for the development of a food charter for New Westminster. I'm from the New Westminster Community Food Action Committee. Some of you may be aware of the work we've done. We've been around since around 2006, doing a wide variety of work, mostly around advocacy and relating to access of food. You have to excuse me if I'm a little bit nervous, because I've got a lot of foodies here in this room, and I'm not used to speaking to a whole room full of foodies. So why does New West need a food charter? The term we're using now is food sovereignty, not food security, because food sovereignty is all-encompassing, and it talks about a whole sustainable food system. For us, we need a food charter here in New West because basically food is an issue that affects everybody, whether you're growing the food, whether you're having problems accessing the food, or whether you're an advocate wanting to ensure that issues relating to environmental sustainability and a wide variety of other issues are in the forefront of the people who are making the decisions. As a committee, we've been trying to get funding for probably around 5 years to start doing this work. We were really fortunate to work with Family Services of Greater Vancouver and got 3-year funding from the United Way of the Lower Mainland. We consider this a real coup because this is not work that's normally funded. Normally you have to kind of scrabble together a lot of money in order to do this type of work. So we're doing 3 things with respect to our launch for the food charter. The first part is what we've just completed, which is a stakeholder, basically surveys and interviews that went out to a wide variety of folks. We've worked with Jen's organization, we've taken all of the information that we obtained from all those stakeholder surveys and interviews, and we're asking for feedback on what we've gotten so far. The other piece that's really good is this is not going to end. This is going to be a 3-year project, and the next 2 years is we basically have money, and that money will be able to be used towards small projects in the community to move the food charter forward. So what did we hear when we talked to all the stakeholders? we found out from the stakeholders that 91% of the people who work with people with vulnerable populations say that there are barriers when it comes to food in our community, whether it be cost, access, education, or people to advocate on their behalf to access food. We had 7 clear themes emerge. We're calling them our reasons to believe. This is something that we're hoping will inspire people, and there'll be at least one reason within those 7 reasons that people will take on and want to do actions related to them. And the whole campaign is called Food for Everybody, a Food Sovereign New Westminster. So this is what it looks like. So again, we're talking about food sovereignty. So food security is our goal, but food sovereignty is how we're going to get there. And food sovereignty is the accepted definition now with respect to at the Canadian level, with respect to the whole work within the food continuum that people are doing now. That makes sense? Okay. So what did we hear? Here's our 7 reasons to believe. No one goes hungry. A more affordable city. The next generation needs good food. There's a potential for jobs. We'll get a healthier environment, a more neighborly community, and it's necessary and empowering. So these are just themes that came up. So with respect to no one goes hungry, a lot of research basically has proven that if we look at our vulnerable populations and make sure that those vulnerable populations are well fed, our whole community becomes healthier. A more affordable city, if we start looking at measures and policies that enable people to buy healthy and affordable food in our community and not have to travel out, it's going to make our city more attractive. Our next generation needs good food. Everyone knows, kids can't develop properly, they can't learn in school, they can't, move forward with their life and meet their full potential if they're hungry. Talking about a healthy environment, we don't want to rely on having to transport our food in. We'd like to be able to have more access to local food that isn't coming from huge distances. The potential for jobs. I think most of you who've been in New Westminster know that we were a food processing hub at one time. And we had one of the largest farmers markets in the Lower Mainland, and people came from everywhere to sell their wares. There's a real potential for us to have a food economy here again and start up food micro-businesses that can contribute to our local economy. A more neighborly community. Food brings out the best in people. When people start getting involved in food projects, it does build a sense of community around food. And so we really feel that the more projects that are connected to food as to go, there will be more connectedness among different groups of people in the community. And my favorite, it's necessary and empowering. So I'm speaking from the advocate here. We've really got to take food issues seriously, because if we don't start taking food issues seriously, it is going to affect us in the future. So people need to understand that they have the power to make decision makers make decisions that will affect us positively in the future. So when we move forward with our food charter and the Food for Everybody, there's some principles that are going to be very closely connected with this in the work that we do over the next couple of years. One is we're going to be inclusive. We're not just talking about vulnerable populations in our community, we're talking about everybody. So we want to reach out to everybody and make sure everyone's issues are heard. We're going to be research-based, so we've taken information that we've gotten from stakeholders. We've taken a lot of research that we already know about our community and research and information that we have from community service providers to help inform us. We're going to be collaborative. I was just explaining to the young lady here, our committee's been around since 2006, but it was mostly service providers. Recently, we've had a lot of community members join, which has been wonderful, and we're hoping that as this information gets out into the community, more people will want to join and more people will want to do more activities related to the work that we're doing. It's person-focused. We're not talking about the goals of the city, the goals of any organization. We're talking about the goals of people within our community and how people what people want to, what people see as being important in the community. And we're going to be advocates. I think there's a lot of people in this room who are already advocates for different food issues. Well, this is how we want this food charter to move forward. I just want to read this little quote on the side because this is what we're really doing. We're kind of putting this information out into the community and want people to move forward with it. A food sovereign New Westminster is a seed sown to be nurtured, tended to, and harvested by the community in the form of policy making, organizational adoption and adaptation, and concrete actionable tactics to ensure there is food for everybody in our community. Whoops. Sorry, I don't know what I've done here. Do you know what I did, Jen?
Jen do it.
There we go. Okay. So, this is just really a shout out to our Facebook page. We've got 99 people as of last night. The 100th person to sign up gets a free New West cookbook. So I'll go back and see who number 100 is. I've been waiting for that number 100 for 3 days now. So we will be keeping people informed on what we're doing. We do want feedback. We're in the process of developing a survey, and we'll be putting that survey link on the Facebook page so people can take a look at it and provide any feedback. We want to make sure those 7 reasons to believe actually speak to people in the community, and that we are on mark with respect to how we want to move forward, because we'll have a little bit of money, and it's really important when we've got money to be able to move it forward with projects that really speak to people in the community. Did anybody have any questions? Really quiet? Really quiet. Like I said, I was really nervous because of all you foodies, but we'll see. Yeah. Part of this funding that we got was able to keep the Family Services of Greater Vancouver's Community Kitchen project going, and they are now concentrating on families with children 0 to 12, and they are looking at, they're trying to do whatever local they can to teach families how to cook. I don't know if that answers your question, Pat, but yeah. I know. And the education piece is going to be important. And when we brought this information to the Interagency Council, the education piece was one of the themes that came up as well. And they said, well, where is education in all of this? And we actually see education incorporated into all 7 of those reasons to believe, because there is an educational component. Because if people don't know that there's kids that are hungry in our schools, they're not going to think that that's an issue. I deal with it on an almost daily basis. It's one of my parts of my job. I find funding to feed hungry kids in our local schools. So, we need, the whole education piece is going to be key. No? Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Bettina. I guess our shadow's gone, so we can stand here now. So, make sure Facebook page is the easiest way to get in touch. There's also a Gmail, NW Community Food Action Committee @gmail.com. Great part about having New West Community TV is that they're going to stream this later, so we don't have to write this down right now. You can just look at it later on their stream. And I did notice as soon as you said 100, like 4 people's head went down to their devices. So let us know who won the race there, Anna. Okay, online? Yeah, okay. So we're here in the food and ideas hub of New Westminster, the River Market. When I look back over the last 4 years of how New West has developed, it's hard to imagine what it would have been like if this place hadn't been revived and turned into what it is. It's, as you say, a foodie haven. It's a place where foodies come, but it's also a place for ideas. It's a community space where the farmers market or the New-West Environmental Partners, a group I'm with, or Pechakucha events, where events happen. So it's been a heart of the new city. So I want to welcome Leslie Shea to come up here and introduce our big presentation. She is the project planner for the River Market. Come on.
So welcome to River Market. I'm Leslie Shea. I'm one of the team members on the admin team. It's my pleasure, well, I should say we're really happy to host River Market here, the farmers market at River Market twice a month. And also we're really happy to be one of the sponsors of today's AGM. I was really honored when Jen asked if I would introduce Jen and Grant. I remember when I had read an interview that you guys had done a couple years back about the green bin project, and I was like, okay, I'll try it for a week. It was very, very difficult. And so today they're here to talk to us about their new film about food waste, Just Eat It. I'm also very honored to introduce you also because one of the projects I've been involved with at River Market is our food waste. About 2 years ago, we started to divert food waste from our general waste stream. We're in our third year now, January. We started with providing every kitchen at River Market in their prep area with a green bin, and about a year ago, we then rolled out the program to the common area. So now next to every waste bin there is a green bin for food scrap and biodegradable containers. We're about when I last looked at the stat, we have probably doubled what we are able to divert our food. We probably doubled our food scrap collection since we started. So, I mean, of course, it's nice to divert food scraps or food waste from the general landfill, but it would be even better if we could eliminate or reduce our food waste in the first place. I know a few of the shops at River Market are working with local organizations and local farms so that still edible food could be donated. So I'm really eager to hear Grant and Jen speak about their new project and see how ways that we can expand our project. So please join me in welcoming Grant and Jen.
No, we're good. Jen, where are you there? Thanks for having us back. Is this good over here? Thanks for having us back to share our new story, Just Eat It, which has been an incredible couple years that we've been working on it and completely eye-opening for us. But we'll get into that in a second. We want to talk a little bit about how we even got to doing this film. Who's seen the Clean Bin Project? Awesome. Okay, so this will be a little bit repetitive for you guys, but we'll fill in the others.
So we'll be pretty quick. Back in 2008, 2009, Grant and I did a personal challenge to live for a year, seeing who could produce the least amount of garbage. So those are actually our garbage bins. We were about 6 months into the project. You can see that we took bins that were about the size of what you'd probably have under your sink or in your bathroom, and that's what we used for the whole year. And we made it fun. We wanted to have a competition, so whoever had the least amount at the end of the year won. We had 3 basic rules, like any good contest. Rule 1 was no buying stuff. So we figured less stuff coming into our house means less stuff coming out of our house. We're not talking about food. We're just talking about things. So no clothing, no shoes, no electronics, that kind of stuff. And then rule number 2 was no producing garbage. So we were really avoiding garbage at all costs. If we were out and about and we ended up, getting a plastic straw or something, we'd make sure that we would take it home, and then we were going to recycle it. And that brings us to the 3rd rule, which is take responsibility for our waste. So right down to the lemon wedge on the side of your plate. If they didn't have a compost facility like they do here, which is so fantastic to see, Then we would take it home and make sure that we were composting it as well. So a pretty simple project. And we'll just summarize how we did here.
So in basically Metro Vancouver, the average person produces around 700 pounds of garbage a year. And we're not trying to brag or anything. It was just, this is what happened. We had around 4 pounds each at the end of the year. To visualize that, you know, the average is like a grizzly, and we produced a chihuahua right there. Yeah, like I said, we're not trying to brag. It's just that's what's possible. And then others that we spoke to who've done similar projects seem to come up with about the same amount over that period of time. So there's sort of, that's the threshold, I guess.
And of course, we don't expect everybody to live zero waste. After the project, we maintained a lot of the things that we learned during the year. So we still recycle, we still try to buy things without packaging. We do buy things, of course, and prioritizing secondhand and things like that. But just to show that it is possible to go on a drastic project, and then you come up a little bit, and we're nowhere near the 700 pounds that we used to produce. But the interesting thing about this project is that it became all about food for us. So because we weren't buying stuff, but we were buying food, all of our purchasing started focusing around that. And we started thinking, where can we get food that doesn't have packaging? And that's where we intersect with the farmers market, because it's such a fantastic place to bring your own bags and avoid all of that hyper-processed food. So for us, we really started using the farmers market as a resource, like as a real place to grocery shop, not just a place to go on the weekend and wander through and buy a thing here or there. Like we were loading up every week. The other thing about food that we noticed is that a lot of our garbage is compostable. So about 40% of what we generally put in our waste stream is compostable. And I know it says compostable organic matter, but it's not like certified organic. It just means that you can biodegrade it. And we started to learn the difference between food waste and food scraps. So food scraps are like potato peelings and banana peels and apple cores and things that really generally are not edible. I mean, they might be technically edible, but we're okay with you composting it. And then food waste is real food that there's nothing wrong with it, but it ends up in the garbage for something. Like maybe, I don't know, your kid doesn't like their pancake, and so they just throw it in the compost instead. And that's really good food that could have been eaten. And we started thinking about this a little bit more.
While we were doing a talk for the Clean Bin Project, we often got invited to schools. And this one school asked us to do a waste audit. So basically they said, come and take one of our garbage cans. Let's go through it together and we'll sort out what could have been recycled. So we put a big mat down, we laid everything out, and we started going through the garbage. And so we had like a paper and a metals and some pop cans over here. And then there was all these things like uneaten bananas, granola bars still in the package. There was also like a Jell-O pudding cup that wasn't open, thrown away with a spoon. And we didn't have a category for perfectly fine, still edible food. And it kind of stopped us in our tracks while we were doing the presentation and made us really start thinking about it. And around that time, we started hearing these stats of how much food is actually thrown away.
Right, so this was really the first time that we realized that people were throwing good, edible food in the garbage. Because I was raised in a family where you finish your plate and you compost the scraps and you eat leftovers. But apparently not every household works like that. Does anybody have any idea how much food is wasted in Canada? So as a percentage of all the food that we produce, how much gets wasted? Oh, you guys are so good. Yeah, it's around 40%. So about 40% of the food that we produce gets wasted, gets trashed. And in Canada, that adds up to about $27 billion worth of food, which is a lot. And then the other issue there is that 1 in 9 Canadians are food insecure. So 1 in 9 people don't have enough food to eat. And it's really not that we don't have enough food for them, it's that we have a distribution problem. So Grant and I were thinking about these stats and we're like, wow, $27 billion. What does that look like?
We met an artist making the Clean Bin Project named Chris Jordan, and he makes these large-scale art pieces. So he takes a stat that's incomprehensible. So this stat is 2 million plastic beverage containers used every 5 minutes in the U.S. So he makes these images over months and months and months in Photoshop, and these images are gigabytes in size. He sent me them. I kept crashing my computer. But if you go up close and you look in tight, you can see the detail in the image. So these images hit home like nothing else. And we were so inspired by his work when we were thinking about our new film. How can we show the food waste? Yes, 40% of food's thrown away. That's terrible. If you hear a news report about that, it usually ends there. It says, this is how much food's being thrown away. But they don't really get into it, and they don't really show us what it looks like. So that was basically our goal of our new film.
Right, because it's not like you can walk into a grocery store and all of a sudden half of the shelves are bare and you're like, oh, this is how much food we're really wasting, because it's really all kind of behind the scenes. So Grant and I came up with this idea to draw attention to the issue of not only the fact that food is getting thrown out, but good edible food is getting thrown out. We figured if there's $27 billion worth of food being wasted, we should be able to find some of it. And Grant's idea was that we would be able to eat some of it as well.
Okay, well, it's a little stricter than that. So I said, let's go for a year eating discarded food. Jen was not into it. So what we said was, we start out, we'll do a month, and we'll see how it goes. We end up doing 6 months living off of discarded food. And as soon as I told friends and family about this clip is exactly what they thought our project would be like.
People call us dumpster divers. See? Perfectly good stuff. All we're doing is not letting anything go to waste.
This is a perfectly good watermelon. There's a hair on it. Other than that,
I don't know. The best dinner party ever. Some good anything go to waste.
this is a perfectly good watermelon. There's a hair on it. Other than that,
I don't know. The best dinner party ever. Some good friends of ours will be like, why do you always serve this? Get us out of here. This is like the 9th time you've made this for us. We're asking you as friends, just come on, please, we'll buy it for you. It's on us.
it is a curry, lentil, cabbage, cumin stew. Look. Oh,
It's like a little koala bear.
who would throw something like this away? Oh.
She likes things.
Okay, fortunately for us, our project was nothing like that. Don't send us this clip anymore. Everybody sent us this clip. We've seen it. Yes, it's funny, but that's not what happened.
Yeah. So this is kind of like the first day of our project. It's not all about dumpster diving. I'm going to explain in a minute. But this is really how I felt. So to clarify, this was Grant's idea. I work in an office. If my boss ever saw me like poking around the back of a grocery store, I would be so embarrassed. Of course, I'm about to, put it in a movie and share it with everybody I know. But, there's this stigma around what we call food waste. And as soon as you use the word waste, people think you mean garbage. And that's really not what it's about, right? I mean, it's ending up in the waste stream, but we are talking about drawing attention to the issue and then hopefully kind of intercepting it farther and farther up the waste stream so that we can feed people and animals and do compost and do all kinds of other great things about it. So it's not garbage food, but it is food waste.
Okay, so this was the beginning of the project. It was actually it was a terrible start. The idea to expose food waste was going nowhere. Everything was locked. We couldn't find this food waste that's thrown away. And I tell you, it's amazing how long you can survive off the food that's already in your house. It's amazing what you pull out of your pantry and under cupboards. And so we were okay. We had a bit of a buffer. And also the other bonus was my brother was moving. And I saw him cleaning out. We're helping him pack. He's cleaning out his fridge. He starts throwing out all this food. And we're like, score. So we just took a bunch of my brother's food. And so the first couple of weeks, we had a bit of a buffer to really figure out where we could eat.
And I mean, talking about the amount of food waste or the amount of food that you can rescue from your own house, like how many people have a freezer in their house? I challenge you this week to eat 3 meals out of your freezer. I'm sure that you can do it. I know you've got little packages of things at the back of the freezer. You're not even sure exactly what they are. So we spent a lot of time rescuing food from our own house first before we actually found some other food. But before long, we were really finding quite a wide variety. This is what they call a haul. Grant was really excited because we got the donut gems in the corner, which is something we'd never purchase for ourselves. But you can see that we got a pretty good variety, right? We have vegetables, we have some energy drinks, we had some pizza shells, and we ended up actually having a pretty well-rounded diet. So we weren't going to like residential garbage cans. You're not going to see me on your street looking through your trash. We were looking at grocery stores. We were looking behind grocery stores. We were looking in grocery stores. So I would walk into the produce department and I would ask, hey, what did you pull off the shelves today that we can buy? Because often, especially with things that are packaged like bag salads, they're pulling them off like 2 or 3 days in advance. And if they don't have a donation program, and if you can get the right stock boy, he'll go in the back and grab it and then we can purchase it because there's really nothing wrong with it at all. Or another option would be I would follow behind the guy who's pulling the stuff off the counter and I would just like buy right off the shelf behind him. Or we would go to the farmer's market and we would ask like, what do you have that nobody will purchase? Or what do you have that's excess that's not selling today that we can purchase as well? So it wasn't just about getting food for free. It was about finding food that other people weren't going to have. And we also ended up going like kind of up the chain to wholesalers where they're having like pallets of yogurt and pallets of peanut butter, and it's really, really large scale waste.
So like Jen said, we started to eat better. It's getting, your 3 square meals a day with all the food groups. Things were going well. And what was surprising to us was a lot of this food was being thrown away for cosmetic issues and no other reason. And we're going to play you a clip from Just Eat It, the forthcoming film, which just kind of gets into the whole perfection side. It actually starts with us going to a farmer's market and trying to buy the culls that no one else will. What do you have for culls right now?
So this.
Okay.
So this one, I knew it wouldn't sell when I put it out, right? It has this little bulb because it rained hard. So they get an abnormal formation when it rains. And I knew it wouldn't sell, like as soon as I put it out. I should have just composted it right there. That's why I'm going to give it to you. You guys can totally take all this and take all the chard.
Well, you'll use one, right?
No, I won't. Like I can't use any of this stuff for the weekend.
This is a lot of greens. Okay, let's stop.
And then what you want?
I'm going to give you $10.
Sure, that's probably too much. My wife and I operate Ice Cap Organics. We're a market garden farm. We sell mostly to farmers markets and the local CSA. We've been doing it for 5 years. We're all vegetables, and that's what we do for a living.
Hey dude, how's it going?
Good, man.
On Thursday.
Well, let's ham it. If this was what I had, and there was an hour left in the market, that one bunch of chard would sit there and no one would buy it. But if I had 30 bunches of chard all like bursting out, I'd probably sell like 25 of those bunches of chard. So what does that say? Like, people are totally impulse shopping and they think if there's one left that there's something wrong with it. People are always looking a lot for value and for aesthetic appeal. And I think a lot of it has to do with people just kind of assuming that what looks better tastes better. The farmers market has more people that are open to trying things that look different, and that's kind of nice. But still, overall, there can be a lot of a good crop at a market that won't get sold if it has just a slight blemish or something's wrong with it aesthetically.
Not every apple grows perfectly red and perfectly round on a tree. And so when we expect that going into the store, we're driving waste up the system. Stores are very careful to have their produce sections look beautiful, and they don't want to kind of ruin their image by having something like a bargain shelf or products that don't look perfect.
For example, when you buy French beans, green beans, they're all the same length and they're all in nice parallel rows. In order to fit them into those trays, the farmers are chopping 30-40% of the bean they've grown off That's 30–40% of the land and the water from Kenya, which is a scarce resource in Kenya, that is being chucked in the bin because we can't think of a better way of packaging beans to accommodate the way they naturally grow. I went to a banana plantation, and after one day of harvest on a single plantation, there was a truckload of bananas being wasted. And those were being wasted solely on the basis of cosmetic standards. The banana plantation was growing bananas for European supermarkets. Supermarkets tell you what diameter, length, curvature, all of those parameters have to be exactly right for that supermarket, so the bananas basically look the same. It is deeply shocking when you see mountains, concentrated mountains of food being wasted. It's something that every time I see, I still get shocked by it.
We're a very large operation for our commodity, which are peaches, plums, and nectarines. To put it in perspective, I probably produce for peaches about a third as many peaches as the state of Georgia does.
This year we're going to do pretty close to 1 million boxes. We have ladies grading the fruit. They're graders, but they sort out the fruit that is not going to go into a box. You know, they're looking for scars like this, that you and I could cut that off right there and eat it, but unfortunately they don't want it in the box. A lot of it's about appearance. This is edible, but it's not edible to the supermarkets.
They have state standards, they have, you know, the USDA or federal state standards for product, but the retailer standards far exceed that which is placed on us by the state. The amount of fruit that's left either in the field or as discarded after it gets in the packing house is, I've seen it as high as 70%. The least I've seen is 20% that gets thrown away for a lot of times no reason that a consumer would think would be practical.
I'll call up the food bank and say, hey, I can get you an extra load this week because we're throwing away perfectly good fruit with nothing wrong with it. There's just no market for it.
We donate a lot of fruit to the Northern California Food Bank, but they do not have the capacity or the infrastructure to manage the amount of fruit that we could possibly give them. A jam and jelly company will take a little bit of it, but there is so much of it that gets thrown away.
As a grower, that's heartbreaking. When you grow the fruit and there's nothing wrong with it and you can't sell it. That bothers me.
Pretty shocking stuff. We didn't really know what we were going to find when we went down to California, and for these farmers to let us in and share with us what they're going through and what they're seeing it's extremely difficult to get access to get people to talk about this. So I really hand it to them for letting us show that, because it doesn't really make them look good, but everybody is in the same boat. Everybody's doing the same thing.
And that's the other thing, is that nobody actually wants to waste. I mean, we saw that there was waste at the farmers market, and we saw that there was waste on the industrial scale as well. Another topic that came up a lot with the food that we were finding is that some of it was very close to the date. So if it was a packaged food and had a date on it, or it was past date. And, you know, we're like, what do these dates really mean?
So how long have we had date labels? So, since the beginning of man, right? Up till the disco funk 70s, we didn't have labels on our food. So how did we know if food was good? We just used our senses, right? Smell. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, in this little period here, we've gone crazy with date labels. And what we found out is most people don't actually know what they even mean.
Right, so we did a little bit of research, and we actually talked to the, Canada Food Inspection Agency as well, because we see a lot of different date labels on our food, and some of the common ones are like best before or sell by. Rarely does it say expired, actually. I know that we like to say expiry date or this food is expired, but you don't really see expiry dates. So the difference between a best before date and an expiry date, does anybody know how many items in Canada need an expiry date?
What do you think requires an expiry date? Milk? Okay, what
Milk.
else? Sorry? Cans?
Cans.
Okay. Any other products?
Any packaged good.
Food?
This is exactly what I thought. I thought that all those items needed expiry dates.
The only thing required to have an expiry date in North America is baby formula. Nothing else requires an expiry date. Also, nutritional supplements like Boost, those kinds of drink, because when they get old, they actually don't have the nutrition in them that they say they do. But everything else doesn't require an expiry date. We see dates that are best before or sell by.
Right, and so best before is really about peak freshness, right? It's best before this date. These chips are going to be the crispiest before this date. This cereal is going to be the freshest before this date, but it has nothing to do with safety. And in fact, items that last longer than 90 days, like canned food, cereal, granola bars, they don't need a date at all. It's completely legal to have no date, but the manufacturers decide to put a date on because it helps the stores rotate their stock. So it's really not for consumers. And then we also found out that it's not illegal to sell after the date. It's perfectly legal. You can leave it up there as long as you want. I've even heard of stores in the States now that are going to open and sell exclusively past date food because it's completely legal. So that really reset the way that I thought about expiry dates and the way that I thought about the food that we were finding in the waste stream that was, kind of close to the date.
So date labels, what have they done? What's the repercussion of date labels? Finding something like this. This was probably halfway through the project. It might be hard for you guys to see, but that is the size of a small swimming pool, and it's completely filled with hummus. I've never seen it. It was totally shocking when I saw it. But what's even more shocking is you're thinking, okay, well maybe it's gone off, right? No, it was fine. There's 3.5 weeks left on the best before date. My question right away is, why wasn't this donated? Why wasn't it sold? We just couldn't figure it out. My best guess is because it's labeled for a certain brand, a store, that the store said, we have enough inventory, we don't want it, you deal with it. And that seems to be the case throughout the whole industry. The grocery store has the power to refuse food and not be financially responsible for that loss. It's up to the supplier to take that hit.
Now it sounds like we're really down on grocery stores and industry, but we want to step back a little bit because food waste is really one of those things that's distributed along the entire system. So who do you think wastes more, consumers or industry? Oh, I see it. I hear people on both sides. You actually are both right. It's about 50-50. So all of industry, from the farm to the grocery store versus us at home.
Okay, think about what our food goes to. Okay, so farmer grows it, and maybe they lost half their crop, but a bunch of it was good, and it was the right size, and it made it to transport, whether they then, maybe it was broccoli, and they kept it on ice, and they drove it all the way from California. And then it got to the wholesalers, and some of it maybe was lost there, but there's some of that broccoli's still going, it's still making it. It makes it to the store, and then as the store is putting it out on the shelf, maybe they're culling some of them as they're coming out because they don't quite look right. And then we come in the store, and then we pick the best out of those. It's already gone through all of this, and then we go pick the best, and we get it home, and then we go order pizza, and then it goes bad in the fridge. So I at the beginning, I thought it was all about these guys, but these guys know that the more food they get through, the better for them because it's a financial loss. But 25% of what we bring into our homes we throw away. You would never walk out of a grocery store with 4 bags of groceries, drop one in the parking lot, and leave it there. You would pick it up. But we're doing that essentially through our home, but it's almost invisible. Our fridges are like tombs. You put stuff in there, it's like you find surprises all the time. We're still finding surprises. We're working on it. But it's totally shocking to find out that we can't just point finger in industry. We're all in this together.
Right, so coming back to the individual level, right, comes back to us as consumers. What can we do? We're at the farmers market AGM, so it's very fitting. By shopping locally and at the farmers market, you're already doing something, right? Because you're buying really fresh produce. It's probably going to last a little bit longer. You're supporting your local industry, and then you're also probably buying in smaller amounts, like just unconsciously, right? You buy fresh food more often. You should have less waste. So that's the theory, because in reality, even the most sustainably farmed food does not matter if you're never going to eat it, right? So it's not about organic versus conventional or industrial versus local farming. Like whatever you call food, if you want to call a Twinkie food, just don't waste it.
They'll never go bad anyway.
And we looked around for some organizations that were doing things. We're salvaging food as well at markets. So Oz Harvest in Australia, they have a farmers market program where they go around to all the markets at the end of the market and get donations from farmers on a small scale. Ottawa Farmers Market in 2012, they saved 12,000 pounds of produce just from donations from farmers at the end of the farmers market. And I've seen programs where they actually have tax incentives too, because it shouldn't be all on the farmers to have to donate out of the goodwill of them. They should get something back as well. And then I've seen lots of little gleaning projects pop up as well. So the Vancouver Fruit Tree Project, you can volunteer. They go and rescue fruit from people's trees. And then it goes 1/3 to the volunteers, 1/3 to charity. Where does the other 1/3 go? That must be 50-50. 50% to the volunteers and 50% to charity. And it's a really great way to get kind of hands-on involved in really saving food. So there's lots of organizations out there doing really good things. Because when you think about food waste, it hasn't been that long since we had different values.
Yeah, the food waste conversation is not a new one. It's actually quite an old one. I like all these posters. But not because they're like, they're real artists did them, they're hand drawn and stuff. But also it reminds me of my granddad, because I always used to, my brother and I would kind of laugh behind his back because he would reuse his tea bag maybe 5 times. Yeah. We grew up in England. Tea's a big thing, but he was, and he grew up through this time, through the war, and those values stayed with him through his entire life. He eventually moved to Canada and lived with my dad. And he would save, if he couldn't finish his dinner, he'd take the tiny bit of what a potato left and he would put it in the fridge and he would eat that leftover. He wouldn't just put it in there and like throw it away some other time. He would go back and eat his leftovers. So all these things we kind of snigger about behind his back, but actually, now I kind of find it inspiring that he was like that. I think it's kind of neat that I've kind of woken up to what he was actually all about through this project.
And I think both of us have been really inspired by everybody that we've met as we've been doing this project. You saw that we went down to California and visited some farmers down there. We got involved with our local farmers market. We also went to Ontario and looked at some markets there. And just meeting people that are involved in food. So this is a really large scale green pepper grower. Well, they do green, red, and yellow and orange peppers. And seeing the amount of work that goes in to growing this food, whether it's small scale or large scale, makes you value food more and makes you automatically want to waste food less. So it's actually really changed our mindset. I don't know if any of you know about the food waste hierarchy. It's very similar to the recycling hierarchy, except it starts with reducing. So reducing the food waste, and then feeding people in need. And that's kind of where we're at. When we're trying to divert food, we're trying to get it to the people that need it, because everybody's like, oh, compost. And it was so fantastic to come here and see that there's composting options. But composting isn't always the first thing that we want to do with our food scraps. And we actually have a prop. I'm not kidding. We found this downstairs.
So someone threw out these carrots. Okay, they're cosmetically they don't look great, but they're actually good carrots. And someone threw them in the compost, which is great because they're compostable, except for the bag. But these are still good. I'm gonna take them home. So, who did it? Put up your hand. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. But it just goes to show that we're kind of seem to be missing that step of feeding people or livestock. It's not in our waste system yet.
Yeah. So yeah, it was kind of exciting to find that. But also maybe we need some signage about not putting plastic into the compost stream. So we kind of learned, we have 4 kind of tips, 4 kind of take-home things about food waste. And the first one is about buying small amounts of food that's fresh. And I know that doesn't look like a really small amount of food, but it is fresh. And it's what you could fit in just a few bags. So, I mean, I try to walk for my groceries as much as possible, and that kind of limits the amount that I can buy, and then I'm not overstocking. So that helps me a lot.
Oh, this. I thought this was like my invention, but Jen actually found this photo on Google. But I made an Eat Me First bin for the fridge, which we put in things like that half a pepper or something, you had half an onion, throw it in there. And then when I open the fridge and I'm thinking about making something, I go and I think about what do I have to make, not what do I want to make. And I reach into that bin and I get all creative and feel like I'm Jamie Oliver and stuff.
It has drastically changed our household. I mean, Grant was he works from home. He would often look in the fridge and be like, oh, there's no food for lunch. I'm going out for sushi. Like that would happen 4 times a week. I'm not kidding. And because of this project where we were really trying not to eat out, but to eat what we had in our house, and because he made that Eat Me First bin, he became a chef. Like all of a sudden he would cook lunch and then we would have something for dinner when I got home as well. It was completely life-changing. So, yeah. Our third tip is to eat family style. So my family actually did do this growing up, but I know that Grant's didn't. It's okay to have lots of food. It's okay to have, a buffet or to celebrate. But as long as if you serve it from a main tray and everybody just takes as much as they want to eat, then you'll have less waste and you can put the leftovers in the fridge. Whereas if you serve it all up to everybody and then some people don't like the carrots or they don't like the potatoes, then they're not going to eat that portion and you're not about to save food scraps off someone's plate. So we try to keep it centralized and then everybody's responsible for what you take. And then the final tip, of course, and it seems so obvious, but it's to save your leftovers and then to eat them. So what helps us is that we put our things in transparent containers. I use metal containers when I go to work, but in the fridge so that I can see what they are, I use transparent containers. And then we make sure that we eat them within 1 or 2 days, and if we don't, we put them in the freezer. So it's just about managing leftovers. I mean, how many of you guys eat leftovers? Yes. You would be shocked how many people do not eat leftovers. I know I've met many people through this project who do not eat leftovers. So
we were fortunate enough. Knowledge Network picks one documentary a year that they're going to get behind, and they got behind Just Eat It. And yeah, a budget. Wow, that's weird. So it's been an incredible journey with them, and they've been really open to letting us really put forth the movie that we wanted to make, and their suggestions have really helped make it better. I think this is a better movie than Clean Mid Project, and I'm excited to release it this spring.
Exactly. So we're hoping that the film will be out kind of maybe in festivals in the spring and on public broadcast so everybody can see it for free in the fall. But we are updating people at foodwastemovie.com. If you're interested, you can sign up for a newsletter. Come put your name up here. And if you have questions about food waste, I feel like we've learned so much. We're far from experts, but we've been really inspired by the solution. So if anybody has any questions, do we have time for questions, Jen? Okay, yeah.
My question is, you had a picture of the pizza shells you found
Yeah.
with the sauce.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the fact that it was super packaged? How did you marry it with packaging?
Oh, this is a good point. It's not addressed in the movie at all. But so for those of you who know that we lived for basically 4 years without eating processed food. After the Clean Bin Project, we just kept on living that lifestyle. And for me, having to eat packaged food was a serious transition. Like I had really big moral dilemmas about it. But what I learned is that, the carbon and waste impact of wasting that entire thing, like the food, the packaging, everything, is so much greater than just the packaging on itself. So I know it's the lesser of two evils, and so we ate a lot of packaged food that year. We would eat whatever we could find, and now that we're not doing this food waste project, we're kind of back to the way that we were. So
I gained 10 pounds by stopping grocery shopping. I don't know how that happened.
Might have been some of the processed food. But so now if you're in our house and you open our fridge, it will be primarily unpackaged food. And if you see anything packaged, I guarantee you that I salvaged it from somewhere. Yeah.
When you did this project, did you talk to the people at Quest?
Oh, good question, actually. She's asking about Quest. I know they just opened a grocery store in New West. Yeah, it's a fantastic organization. I actually volunteer at Quest 1 day a week. I've been there for about 2 years. So, I mean, with the film and the way my day job works, I have a lot of flexibility, so I'm able to donate some of my time back, and I have been working with Quest. And we actually have a segment, hopefully, with them in the film where, yeah, they should be featured in there as well. Yes? Sure, we could. I use the paper bags often at the grocery store, or I also have a set of mesh bags. Do you sell them? Really? The farmer's market sells them? Awesome. The farmer's market sells them. They're for produce specifically or bulk, and I use those all the time. And then I just transfer things when I get home, like I store my nuts in glass jars and things like that. Another thing I've started to do when I'm at the market, remember Delaney was talking about how that zucchini had the bump on it, and so people wouldn't buy it because it didn't look as perfect. When I'm picking things like apples, I just try to pick the first one I touch. Because I'm like, these are all perfect. They all made it here. Like they're all pretty good. And so, some of them sometimes have a bruise, but.
Yeah, that's why we bring our own mesh bags they replace the produce bags. Yeah, and then some of them are stretchy, they can fill out, yeah.
When I'm trying to avoid packaging, I try not to have more than 6 items loose. Because you're right, it gets like ridiculous to be like, these are my oranges. So yeah, I try to use a mesh bag. Awesome.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks again to Jen and Grant for once again coming to our AGM and talking about a cool project. It was, sorry, you took I have to shout out one more time. What's the website? Sorry? Foodwastemovie.com. Okay, so you can go to the website and it'll be coming out this spring. Watch out for it. As I warned you, we're actually here to do some business as well, so I'm going to have to call to order the 2014 annual general meeting of the Royal City Farmers Market Association. So I just want to remind everybody, we're going to get through this as quick as possible and as painlessly as possible. I just want to remind you, if you want to make a motion or vote on a motion, you need to have one of these colored cards in your hand. If you paid to be a member of the association this year, you should have one of these cards in your hand and you can vote. If you're here just hanging out, then it's fine. You don't have to vote. There was also a package that was circulated that had the minutes, the agenda for the meeting and everything, and everyone should have that. Everyone who's interested in having it should have it. If you want to move or second a motion or a motion, just put your hand up and I'll try to acknowledge you. I should be yelling out your name. I know many of the people in the room, not everybody, and if those I do know, I'm listening to the football game in my ear right now, so I'm only half paying attention. So if I pull a bit of a pause and just yell out your name, because our recording secretary is going to have to write down the name for the motion. You know how it works. I can't believe you missed that. Okay. Andrew asked me to facilitate this today because of my good looks. I'm a paid member of the society, but I'm not on the board. So the first motion we should probably do is to have a motion from the floor to accept me as the chair of the meeting. So all the motion, so moved by Anna, seconded by Judy. Discussion. You could talk about me. This is your chance to run me down right here. Yays, so any votes yay and nay, the motion moves. Okay. Hennessy Roy is on the board, and she's going to be being our recording secretary today. So, make sure she writes down your name, and she knows more people in the room than I do. So just let her know. We have to accept the agenda. Everybody has seen the agenda, I hope. It was circulated when you came in. I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the agenda. Jen Arbo seconded. Joanna, I see in the back, seconded that. We can have discussion. If anybody wants to make a change to it, add anything to it, or make a comment about it, speak now. Seeing no interest in changing the agenda, I will call for a vote. Yes for adopting the agenda, and no's. The agenda is adopted. See how quick this is? We should point out who the board is, the existing board of the RCFM are right now. They're listed here in alphabetical order, but they're not seating in alphabetical order, which is going to make this very complicated for me. So I'm going to go through Maureen Crook, Hennessy Hoy, Andrew Murray, Daniel McCash, Kevin McConnell, and you see what I mean about me listening to the game and not remembering, and Marcy Koopmans. So give them a hand. They did a great job this year. They do a bunch of the stuff that makes the organization run. They're the head volunteers. There's more volunteers in this room. I see a lot of faces in this room that I see at the farmers market a lot of times. So thank you all for the volunteer efforts this year. So first off, what we'll do is we'll have a report from the president. So I'll ask Andrew Murray to come up and give a report as the president's report.
Thanks, Pat. Good afternoon, and thank you for giving up your Sunday afternoon and coming down to the farmers market AGM. And 6 weeks ago, had a brain cramp. I'm a huge Seahawks fan. Have been since day one, so been kicking myself for a couple of weeks, but it is what it is, and you're here, and thanks for coming down. First of all, I'd like to extend our thanks to the River Market for the use for sponsoring Jen and Grant for coming today, and also to the Hub Network for the use of the room. That's awesome, and that's just another example of the kind of collaboration that's been taking place here for our winter markets for the last couple of years. But 2013, all good. Another year of growth. As an organization, we really grew. We started off last January by initiating a board governance report that we had commissioned from Hayek Interactive, Jen Arbo. It called for a different way of looking at our board and our governance of our board, and we initiated some changes. And that was all good. And then we really had been talking about bringing in a strategic plan. As an organization, it was our 6th year of operation, and we felt that we needed a tool to guide us from a business standpoint for the next 3 years. So we went through a process of getting some bids from some third parties, and we ended up choosing Propeller Consultants, David Lee. And that process for the strategic plan began in the fall, and it was a very educational tool for the board. None of us had ever been through it. There was a one-day session, and then another half-day session, and so we now have in place a 3-year plan for the market that calls for things like increases in attendance of about 10% a year. It calls for one thing that I really liked about where we were at collectively as a board is that each of us are calling for a strong advocacy for the market. We see that as part of our role here in the city to talk about food waste, to talk about food security issues, to promote what's going on in our city with Bettina and the Food Action Committee. And so it's really great to see a unanimous decision by the board to move in that direction. And of course, financial stability, we're in good shape financially, so it's from a board standpoint, it's been a very positive year. We started off last summer with, as far as our winter markets go, we went to first and third Saturdays from just once a month. We listened to our customers who said, why aren't you here more often? And so we responded with that, and it's been great. It's as more and more people become aware that there's a farmer's market on the first and third Saturdays now here down at the River Market. We've seen repeat business. We've seen increase in attendance, and excuse me, it's turned out to be a win-win situation for our partners, the River Market, and also the RCFM. Our summer season, another solid summer season of, we're restricted by our size of our parking lot. We get our 40 vendors, but we're seeing increases in attendance. We're seeing all kinds of, we've got a nutrition coupon program for our second year. That's the provincial government program which allows us to, which includes seniors now, but it's really destined for low-income families and seniors to be able to access $15 a week for low-income families and $10 a week for seniors to come to the market and get their children and families eating healthy with fruit and vegetables from the market. So their funding is in place now for another year, so we still have another year to go, and hopefully the provincial government will see the wise, see the logic behind it, where it's sure you're putting up money up front, but you're saving a lot more money in healthcare costs down the road with less obesity problems and such. But so that's been working very well for us, and we did go through a management change this year, and it's when we went to a couple of times during the winter, our manager Jody Appleton, who's sitting at the back, and very well respected, well liked manager who came on board for us, did a great job during the summer season. But all the balancing young family and increased job workload during the winter at her other job with the BC Mountaineering Club, she made a very difficult decision, and we've missed her. But she did a wonderful job. And that's Jody. If you wouldn't mind putting your hands together. So that left me. I hit the phones, made some calls, and pulled off a major trade deal with the Surrey Farmers Market. For 2 first-round draft picks, we were able to secure the services of one of our very own, Melissa Balfour, now Melissa Maltese, and she came on board, and she's a local girl. We brought her back home, and she's got a wonderful network of friends and contacts here in the city. So she hit the road running, and has been doing a great job for us. Very creative ideas, and we think we've got a very bright future with Melissa at the helm as far as management concerns. And you'll also notice that, yeah, definitely. And you'll notice Melissa is carrying her firstborn child with her, and she's actually come on board. She's actually going to give birth to that child right here, down at our next winter market. We've got a midwife. It's going to be a huge PR exercise, lots of media. It's don't say we're not thinking of creative things to bring customers in. So that's we've had a great year. I look around you and I see the volunteers, that are here, and the board members worked well collectively, and we've just had a good year. And this is our 6th year. for 6 years, I've stood up here giving a president's report, and I've done some sober and not so sober thinking about all this, and I think it's time to sort of take a back seat, move sideways into a past president role, and let somebody else sort of come in with some new energy, new ideas, and take over. And I'll be there. I'm not going anywhere. I've invested a lot of emotional capital in this project, so I just want to say a huge thank you. And I swore I wouldn't do this, but just want to say a huge thank you to all those people that have got us to this point. The ones at the beginning, that they're not really here right now, but their contributions in that first year were huge. We got it up. We sold it to the city, sold the idea. The city of New Westminster came on board. We got some private sector sponsorship. People bought into it. There's a strong food awareness in this city, and it's just been a pleasure being involved with you. So thank you very much.
Thanks. Putting the business shirt on, I have to ask for a motion to accept the report from Judy Ross, and second from Kevin McConnell. Any discussion, any questions for Andrew or anything on the report? Once, twice, three times. Okay, I ask for a vote to accept the report. And anyone against? Unanimous, it's passed. Thank you, Andrew. Can you hear me on this? Second, I think we all know Melissa. Apparently, we're all going to get to know her a lot better very soon. But I asked for Melissa to come up and give the manager's report for the year.
Hi. Contrary to popular belief, I'll be giving birth at RCH. Although the March 15th market is 5 days before my due date, so if anyone wants to volunteer to stick around all day and drive me to the hospital if need be, the position is open. So so here's my report for 2013, although I only took the reins from Jody in October, so it wasn't a very large report, I'm afraid. I did have time to attend the farmers market throughout the summer, so I know that they had a lot of great things happen. There was Farmers Appreciation Day, 3 membership appreciation days. They had a fun bike to the market day. Van City came and set up coupon booths and gave out free money to the public, which is always great. And there was a second annual pie bake-off, so lots of delicious pies. And at the last day of the market, they had a vendor appreciation day, where they really wanted to thank all the vendors for being with us for the summer. As I go through and start looking at the applications for the summer market, I just want to point out that I've had such amazing feedback from vendors, and I just constantly hear how much they love the New Westminster Farmers Market experience and how the services that our volunteers provide, it just goes above and beyond what other markets may provide. And so our reputation is amazing. Like, I send out emails, kind of cold call to different companies thinking, well, they might not get back to me, but all I keep getting back is, oh yeah, we've heard of the New West Market. Everyone says it's so great. We can't wait to be part of it. Yeah, sign us up. So that just speaks volume for what the board has been doing, what the volunteers have been doing year after year, and the market managers, Jen and Jody as well. Like, you've set a very high precedence and a very high level of service. So it's very exciting to be part of that. As Andrew mentioned, we did do the Farmers Market Nutrition Coupon Program, which I also worked with over the summer at a separate job. New West got just under $15,000 in funds for low-income families and vulnerable seniors in the community, which is pretty awesome. We do have access this year to just under $20,000, so I'm really hoping that we can up that and get as much money into our community as possible. I mean, the funds not only goes towards providing food for families, but it also really goes towards the farmers, and I think sometimes that kind of gets lost in the message that the money actually ends up in the pockets of the farmers and helps feed their families as well. So it's a really, really great program. The winter markets have been going really well. I've loved being back at River Market, working with Leslie and Kieran and Dave, the maintenance manager. The staff here are just amazing. The tenants are super supportive of us. And we've just had such a great time so far in our kind of mid-season market dates. We love being here and we love being with them. And again, nothing but compliments from the vendors on how it all runs, and they're all very happy. So far we've had one Members Appreciation Day on January 4th because I thought, oh, no one's going to come to the market January 4th. It's after Christmas. No one wants to spend money. And we were bombed with people. So we had so many people come. It was great. So it's just a good sign of the direction that we're going in and the choice of vendors that we have and the kind of impact we're making on our community. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Melissa. Again, I have to ask for a motion to accept the report. Wes Koopmans, and seconded by Jen Orbo. Any discussion, questions for Melissa? One. I think we love her as a statement, not a question, but I'll take it as read. Put that in the minutes. Okay, then I ask for a vote to accept the report. And any nays? Thank you, unanimous. Third, financial report. We have the treasurer of the association, Marcy Koopmans, is going to come and let us know how the books look. You can put it in the stand. Point it at your chin. Talk loud.
Can everyone hear me? It's good? Okay. So first off, I just want to thank the two people who you don't usually see, but they helped the financial reports actually happen, and that's John Morey and Murray Evans, and they helped me with payroll throughout the year and with putting these financial statements together. Without them, it wouldn't happen. They've been a tremendous help. This was my third year as director and second as treasurer, and as everyone said before me, it's been a really great year, lots of change, but change is really positive, I think. We've been working very hard on how to further grow the market, and part of that was the strategic planning that we went through with Propeller. Since this wasn't a routine expense for us, we decided as a board to pull that from our contingency fund. And we've already started replacing that money. We were also able to invest a portion of our savings into a term deposit. So that'll be, it's an escalating term deposit, so it'll be in there for 3 years or so. We also had to replace a couple of our tents this year after, I'm sure many of you will remember the rainstorm that happened in the summertime that destroyed some of our equipment, but they were pretty old, so we got some new tents. I'll just speak really briefly about the financial reports that are in the package. Just a couple of things to call out. Our revenues and expenses have increased as we've grown. The strategic plan expense is included in the professional fees section, so you'll notice there's a big increase there, and that's from that report. And we also received funding, as was said before, from the provincial government for the nutrition coupon program, and also a very generous grant from Van City. So I just want to thank them as well. They helped us put on a lot of events this year and do a lot more promotion and advertising and things like that for those events. So we're really grateful for that. Overall, we're in really good shape. Really solid year, and I just want to thank all of our sponsors and partners and everyone who worked so hard to make this happen, and we didn't do it without you. And I think that's it. If anyone has any questions, or you going to do that?
Yeah, should ask for a motion to accept the report first from the floor. Anyone? I see Jen Orbo is up. It's seconded by, I see Dan McCash there. Now that the motion is open, if you have any questions or Comments or anything? You want anything to speak to the report? Going once, going twice. Good job. So I need a vote to accept the report. And any nays? It's unanimous. Thank you. Oh, we also need a second motion for financial issues. We need to a motion from the floor to reappoint Murray Ovens as the financial reviewer. Oh, I see Maureen has her card up, seconded by Andrew Murray. Any discussion? Yeas? Nays? None. It's unanimously passed. Oh, we're good timing. Okay, we do also, the last piece of business we have to do is we have to elect a new board. According to the constitution of the association, board members only serve for a single year, and they have to re-elect them at every annual general meeting. The constitution also limits 7 to the number of board members that we have. The RCFM's advertised for quite a bit now, for several weeks now, for nominations for board members, and during the nomination period we received 7 nominations, which makes it very convenient for us. These are the 7 in alphabetical order, so I'll point out who they are, and maybe I'll say a few things about them because that's what I get to do. In alphabetical order by last name, Jennifer Arbo has been nominated. Jennifer, please stand. I think everyone knows who she is. She was the first manager of the market. If you don't know who she is, she's a real leader in the New West community, both online and in the real life. She's lived in New West for 20-odd years now. She serves on numerous city committees. She volunteers around town, Kids Sport New West, other organizations. Her best skill, I think, is bringing people together to either share tea or to jar food or to share clothing or to any of a million things. She's bringing people together, and that's what she always seems to be doing. So, Jen, do you accept the nomination? Thank you. Second alphabetically, Hennessy Hoy. Hi, Hennessy. Yeah, keep writing. She's been living in New West for about a dozen years when she isn't traveling the world. She's been volunteering for the market for, I think, since 2010, and first joined the board in 2011. I think her best skill is on those rainy market days when you go out and it's pouring rain. She's like that right there. Smile is like sunshine. On the rainiest day, she's working the market, and she's always bringing a brightness to the market. So, Hennessy, do you accept your nomination? All right, good. Third is Marcy Koopman. In her 5th year living in New West, I think she started volunteering the minute she arrived, because she's always been around doing things in the community. She's worked her way, I'm not sure if it's up or what, but she's worked her way into the position of treasurer for the society. She does actually, she's the only one here with any real financial acumen because she works in the mortgage business, so that's why she got stuck doing this thankless but much appreciated job. It's much appreciated. Yeah, well, she's also got this kind of enthusiasm about new things, which is sort of marks the brand, I think, of the New West. So, Marcy, do you accept the nomination? Yeah. Okay. Maureen Crook is lived in New Westminster for 20-odd years, which almost makes her a New Wester. Almost. We're all... Yeah, she's been volunteering for the market for the last 3 years. You recognize her again as someone who's always working the booth. She's at every farmer's market. She's interacting with all of the customers, with all of the booths, all the vendors, just keeping the communications going and helping out everywhere she can at the markets. So, do you accept the nomination? All right. Dapper Dan McCash has been volunteering since 2011. Another one of those familiar faces you see working the booths and keeping things running. He's upped his market game this year in that he is now a vendor as well, making his incredibly delicate and delicious mallows, and it's been fun. So Dan, do you accept the nomination or have any words do you have to say? Perfect. Okay, thank you, Dan. Kevin McConnell here is a Brow of the Hill denizen like myself. He is probably the market's most prominent foodie. I've never seen anyone get so intensely like into a flavor, whether it's a flavor in, whether it's in a coffee or a piece of fruit or in a beer or in a baked good or in a pizza. He just loves the damn food. It's just. So anyway, he's a champion. He's a champion of good food, of the community. He's a great volunteer in the community. He's always got a great smile going on. He's also one of the nicest damn people you'll ever meet. So do you accept the nomination? All right. Finally, but not last but not least, Andrew Murray. I don't know what to say about Andrew Murray that hasn't been said. He's a founder of this organization, but he's also a founder of the newest environmental partners. He's a founder of the only film fest we have in this city. He's won awards. He's been involved in everything. He's a community builder in this community unlike any other. I could go on. I'll go on and go on about his accomplishments and his awards, except that he really wants to get home and get the PVR on and watch that football game more than anyone else in this room. So I'm going to stop talking about Andrew and ask, do you accept the nomination? All right, okay. There are 7 positions available. We've received 7 nominations, which makes the election really easy. We don't have to have an election, but we do have to accept the nominations as a body. So I need someone to move to accept the nominations. Anna Roik. Second, Wes Koopmans. Discussions before vote. None. Vote yeas and nays. The vote is so moved and unanimous. Any other business? Does anyone else have any other business? I didn't ask at the beginning if you wanted to add it to the agenda. I see one item. Yeah. The question is about the change in liquor regulations and whether there'll be any chance to bring craft beer or anything in. Does anyone want to address that from the manager or the president? Or?
The government is rolling out the plan to start in the spring. We haven't got the details as to how we implemented regulations in terms of licenses and all that, but we are in talks with the partners within the West. So maybe it makes they're going to be, but in order to have both wine and beer be able to be purchased at our.
So in case, for the sake of the camera, in case you couldn't hear in the microphone, the answer is yes. The market is looking at opportunities. The rules, the changes in the laws have not quite been worked out yet, and they're not really clear where they are when the government passes new legislation in the spring, and if an opportunity happens, the market's looking at that opportunity, already looking at partners if it happens. So, was that a safe summary? Okay, without any other business, I just want to make a couple of announcements. I'm getting the look. Do you want to make an announcement? Okay. Next market, of course, February 15th, right down here at the River Market. There's also, keep an eye open for the fundraiser coming in May. You know, there's 2 fundraisers coming up next weekend for fires. There's one on Friday for the recent residential fire. That is, if you want to look into that, Last Door is running a fundraiser on Friday, so go to lastdoor.org. There's also a event supported by the BIA at the Columbia Theatre on Saturday. And so go to the BIA or to the Columbia Theatre to look at that, please, because fundraisers are important for that. I want to thank again the River Market and the Network Hub for hosting us here, Jen and Grant for the presentation and for being inspirational, cool idea people who are fun to follow. I want New West Community TV, of course, for streaming us again. That is New West TV, newwest.tv, the easiest website ever to remember. Well, you need to acknowledge again, Van City provided a grant to the RCFM. That's one of the corporate partners who helps fund this. They do deserve thanks for helping to fund this organization. Provincial government, again, we've talked about it a couple of times, provided money for the food coupon program. Grants are great, but it's all the volunteers who help this thing run. It's also all you people who show up and pay your $30 every week at the farmers market and buy your fresh goods that help keep the whole thing running. So thanks to you all. Do you want to say? The only thing I have to say is before I call for adjournment, we're going to have snacks and coffee here. We had sweet tia And Blackberry Hill, a couple of vendors, helps provide the snacks and foods for us here today. Salt Spring Coffee Company provided us the coffee you're drinking. The Great Wall Tea supplied the tea you're drinking. Jen Arbo supplied those incredible teacups that you're drinking from. Thank you, Bettina, and the Food Action Committee for giving us a presentation and telling us about your program. Those of you on TV, hi. I hope you got all those web addresses. Sorry, no coffee and tea for you. Yeah, Andrew.
Well, thank you very much for coming. It's another year down, and I just want to say thanks to Pat Johnstone, who, if you're not already aware, was the 2013 Citizen of the Year in New Westminster. I had to trade another first-round draft pick to get him to come in today. But, you know, we're going through a period of austerity, so Pat, instead of I'm sorry. And a little bit to choke that down with. There you go. Thanks, everybody. Hang out. Enjoy it.
I need a motion to adjourn. Jan Arbo. You're not even going to second the motion. Oh, okay, I'm going to get the president to because he really wants to watch that football game. Second. So we are adjourned. Please, coffee, tea, snacks, and we'll see you on the 15th in the next market.